This is, I would put quite deliberately put 20, this question mark in here, 20 headstones of interest. I think they're of interest, and hopefully you guys will after a talk for a while. And they're all with a connection to the Shankill. So it's not actually, there's actually more than 20 headstones. It's 20 different incidents or themes we're going to be talking about. So there's more than 20 headstones, but there's 20. For example, I'll talk about the Shankill bomb, but there's 4 or 5 headstones of relevance to that. So there's 20 of them, and it says there I'm a top-up file. Now you have to be very careful when you call yourself anything. You got a cold? You call yourself anything that ends in a file. But it reminds me of the story about the guys in Scotland. They attacked the home of a paediatrician, thinking he was a paedophile. A top-up file is a tombstone tourist. It's somebody who spends their ongoing midlife crisis, which I'm in the middle of now, going around graveyards, cemeteries, and looking at at headstones. So that's what a top-up file is, a tombstone tourist. So don't be alarmed. So the first one I'll talk about then is this one. So this is in Belfast City Cemetery, and this is the Carmichael grave. Now, the person I'm going to be talking about isn't buried in this grave. She is Amy Carmichael, and she's buried out in India, in Dobovore. But this is Amy Carmichael's mum and dad are buried here, and other family members. Say this is a city cemetery. Amy Carmichael worked with the Shawleys in this area, and there's the Welcome Hall over at Cambrai Street. There's a bit of, that's where she worshipped over in Cambrai Street. So there's a little image of Amy Carmichael on that church, the Welcome Hall. And if you go down, if you're coming from the Shankill, go along the Cambrai Street at the end, then on the left, just at the junction of the Crumlin Road, there's on the left there's a sculpture, Shawleys, and then on the right, just on the corner there's a little bit of information about Amy Carmichael. So she's from Malile, but when they came up to Belfast here, and then the mum and dad, they're buried in Belfast City Cemetery. So you can see the grave's quite overgrown. That's it. I tidied it up a little bit, but it still needs a good bit of tidying up. And these are all in chronological order. So just for Jack's benefit, that means in date order. And so this is the earliest one. This is the Carmichael one. And Mr. David Carmichael, Amy's father, he died the 12th of April, 1885, aged only 55. So that's Amy Carmichael, again, of relevance to this area. The next one then is this one, the Johnston. And you can see it, maybe you'll be able to see at the bottom. It says, William Johnston, D.D., Doctor of Divinity, Minister of Townsend Street, Presbyterian Church for almost 47 years. Born 2nd January 1813, died 10th January 1894. So he was the long-term minister of Townsend Street Presbyterian Church. As you know now, sadly, Jack, with Jack here, Townsend Street is now closed. So this is in the city cemetery as well. But also in the city cemetery, there's a number of other references to Townsend Street. So this is up. This is the Jewish section up in the city cemetery, and that's the wall, the screen wall, it's called, commemorating those who died in either wars. So it's near the exit of the cemetery. And this is the final resting place of Samuel Henry. And it says in his headstone, I can't read what it says, but it says he was involved in, Townsend Street Sabbath School. And his dates, a man greatly beloved. And he died on the 10th, he died in 1859. No, that can't be right. The cemetery only opened in 1869. It does look like that. So let's go for 1899. But you can see then at so this is Philippians first here at the base of the headstone, and then at the bottom here, erected by his fellow teachers and other friends. So again, that's in connection to Townsend Street. Another, this is Townsend Street. This is the burying ground for the orphans of Townsend Street Presbyterian Church. You can see it's very overgrown. This is here. So you can see it's a huge big plot for the orphans of Townsend Street. There is actually another line below here with the date where the orphans started to be buried in the city cemetery in this plot. But you can see it's quite a bad state of repair now. So there's a number of references in the city cemetery to Townsend Street Presbyterian Church. And as you probably all know, it's now used as the rehearsal space for the Ulster Orchestra. So this is, again with relevance to the Shankill, this is the bottom of what's called the Gallagher Steps in the city cemetery. And this is you can see here the Cunninghams, Glencairn. And here is, this is a close-up of here. And this is Josias Cunningham of Glencairn. He died the 5th of September 1895, aged 76. So Glencairn, as you perhaps know, was a big house up at the top of the, I think it was called Fernhill House latterly. And the Cunninghams, they lived there. As you can see from the huge plot, they were very wealthy. So they were stockbrokers originally. So the company's still going to this day, Cunningham and Coates. And they're very, very involved in the Ulster Unionist Party as well throughout the years. And in fact, when the Combined Loyalist Command ceasefire was announced, it was announced in their house, in the house there at Glencairn. So that's, and James Cunningham, Colonel James Cunningham, was mentioned at the bottom of the Shankill. There's a mural into the left, just opposite Peters Hill, where Peters Hill Baths used to be, and Colonel Cunningham is mentioned there on that mural. Or when it's being the Shankill Road, of course, it's a mural. Oh, I normally say that for East Belfast. It goes all right. So this isn't. I think your car's in fire. Is that the mural? Yeah, what's the burning spell coming up the stairs? So this is Dundonald Cemetery, and this is for the first time. And this is a guy called Leopold Leonard, and he was a prominent Orangeman on the Shankill Road. He was a French polisher by trade, and he was murdered on the 6th of September 1921. He lived at 5 Dover Street, and he died at the Royal Victoria Hospital. So he was essentially a victim of the 1920s troubles. 1920s troubles are often forgotten. Sadly, they were along the same kind of lines as the more recent troubles, and a lot of the interfaces were the same in the 1920s. So, say this guy is from Dover Street. Is that close to here? Is it? Dover Street. So, but on the Shankill, yeah, and he was murdered during the 1920s troubles. So I'll talk shortly about more recent troubles victims, a number of whom you might remember. But this is a guy who died more than 100 years ago as a result of the 1920s troubles. So the next one is also in Dundonald. That's not the right one. This one. And this is, these are buried here is one victim of the Belfast Blitz of 1941, 15th and 16th of April. As you folks might know, there was 3 raids in Belfast during the 1941, but this one was the heaviest one, the Easter Blitz. And buried in this grave, although not commemorated in the headstone, sadly. So buried here is John Garrett. So he's not even commemorated on the headstone. He was aged 41, and he was living at Heather Street when he died during the Belfast Blitz. But also buried here, also killed in the same incident, were his wife Bridget, who was 36, and son Alan, Allen, who was 3. Sadly, Bridget and Alan's bodies were never recovered. So they died, but their bodies were never recovered. John, his body was recovered, interred in this plot, but it's not even commemorated on the headstone. So it's sad that these guys were wiped out, and yet there's no commemoration of them on their headstone. And is Heather Street is it Woodvale? Yeah, so it's people often think about North Belfast and East Belfast in terms of being very affected by the Belfast Blitz in 1941, but they forget that it did affect Percy Street, as you say, and there's a big mural over behind the leisure centre as well, commemorating the Belfast Blitz. So that's I don't know how I'll carry on. This one is also in the city cemetery. This is Stuart grave, and you can see he was a big cricketer. You can see the cricket motif here, and the wicket keeper and the wicket and the ball even. He was a big cricketer. He was a cricketer up at Woodvale Cricket Club, and he died 6th January 1942, age 76, and he was living at 27 Canmore Street. Is that close to here as well? So he was a big unionist politician, a member of the Ulster Unionist Party, and his son didn't agree with him in terms of his politics, so his son joined the IRA. So, as you do, if your dad's it's a bit like Ronnie Bunting. If people remember Ronnie Bunting, he's buried down in Ballywester. But you can see that James was an ardent socialist, because at the base of his headstone it says, "Organise our strength at the point of production." So, I say an ardent Labour man for sure, socialist. So again, that's in the city cemetery. This one here is also in the city cemetery, and this is a man called the Reverend Henry Montgomery, commemorated here. M.A., Master of Arts, D.D., Doctor of Divinity, born 12th of October. All the best people are born in October. Can anybody guess when my birthday is? July. No, October, you're right. And died 17th February 1943. And it says at the bottom of base of the headstone, to me to live is Christ, and to die is gain. Philippians 1, chapter 1, verse 21. Reverend Montgomery was better known as the Shankill Shepherd, and there's a blue plaque for him just down near the leisure centre at the building that used to be the Shankill Road Mission. I think that's going to be a hotel, but I'm not sure if that's... Pardon? That is the dream. That's the aim, yeah, is to have it as a hotel. So that's the plan. But that's the Reverend Montgomery. He was a legend in these parts, from all accounts. Would have been very good to the people in this area, helping with their basic needs as well as their spiritual needs. He organised trips for the kids to go away to Malile, etc. So this is the Shankill Shepherd.
We also introduced David Carmichael to the Shankill Road.
Okay.
You know, and it was largely through that friendship that Amy Carmichael got a burden for the Shawleys.
Okay, cool. Mm. Well, so I was going to say, do I have to split my money with you? But I don't, because I'm not getting paid. This is so a big jump forward to 1969. This is This is Roselawn Cemetery. This is Victor Arbuckle. As folks will know, he was the first RUC guy murdered during the Troubles on the Shankill Road by so-called loyalists during a skirmish, let's say. So it's quite an easy grave to find in Roselawn Cemetery. It's more or less one of the first ones you go to on the right. But you can see here, it died 11th October 1969 from gunshot wounds received while serving with the RUC. to say he was the first first RUC guy to be murdered during the Troubles. He was standing beside a guy called Dermot, I think his name was Dermot Corky, possibly, and then Dermot Corky was uninjured in the incident, but then he became, a couple of years later, he became the first Roman Catholic member of the RUC to be murdered during the Troubles in 1971. So that's Victor Arbuckle. Victor Arbuckle's wife then went on to form a group to support those members of the RUC who were, widows of those members of the RUC who were murdered during the Troubles. So he was the first. He lived in East Belfast, but I say murdered on the Shankill. So this is, again, this is in City Cemetery, and this is Tommy Henderson. Again, you might know of him, very, very well known on the Shankill. He was an independent candidate, an independent councillor, but he's best known for his ability to filibuster. Filibuster means just talk incessantly, a bit like Justin. So he wasn't happy with a finance bill. I think it was in the City Hall when he was a councillor. So he decided that he would just talk nonsense for, I think it was 15 hours until they basically gave up. And so he was a terrible filibuster. But he was also, again, practically, he was very good to the people in the Shankill. So he would have been involved in the library, I know, for sure. So that's, and I think his portrait might be in Shankill Library, possibly. I think when you go up the stairs, it is. You go up the stairs in the library. You've got that beautiful window on the landing there. Get up the top of the stairs, and his portrait is up there.
What's the blue mark for on the headstone there?
That's so. The council have decided in their wisdom some headstones that maybe are unstable. Then they've put this a post behind it, and then put this tape around it to secure it. So it's quite controversial because basically they're saying to family members, you can't go near your family grave, and they're saying, like, hang on, it's our family grave, we can do what we want, essentially. So it's been quite controversial. So that's one example of that. So it's quite hard to see here, but that's not particularly, I don't think that's particularly stable land there. It's basically near the second entrance to the city cemetery, so it's a bit unsteady. So that's one of many, particularly in the city cemetery, that are kind of deemed. I only took that photograph yesterday, so yeah. So it's very, very much. This is up to date. This talk. So yes, that's still up to date. Yeah. So this is over in Roselawn, and as you might be able to see here, this is Billy Andrews, and he commemorated as a dear husband and daddy. Died as a result of explosion in the Mountain View Tavern, 5th April 1975. Is the Mountain View up the top of the road here in the corner? And then also, he was living at, he was aged 33, and he was living at 49 Glenkern Way when he died. But also then, killed in the same incident, and buried not far away, is Albert Fletcher. He was living at 85 Disraeli Street, and he was aged 32. So you can see here, remembered always by his friends in Woodvale. So those are two victims of the explosion at Mountain View. They're both commemorated. They're both mentioned, in the Roselawn book. So do you guys remember that incident?
I knew Albert Fletcher.
You knew?
He lived on Montreal Street originally, and then he got married, moved into Disraeli. I remember Albert there.
He was only 32. Yeah, terrible.
Was he still alive? I couldn't tell you.
It was just looking at it, you say to yourself, was he a bachelor? That there was no other mention of father or no?
Yeah, there's no wife in Billy Andrews' grave either, so they could still be alive. Yeah. This is over at Carnmoney Cemetery for the first time, and this is Johnny McQuaid. So you can see there he died. Sorry, I've just realised that he died 19th November. Novembebr. Somebody needs to have a word with that monumental sculpture. He's commemorated as a former MP at Westminster for North Belfast. So he was quite well known in this area. Again, he features on the mural down at the bottom of the road there, just short of Townsend Street on the left. And I think he was a boxer in his youth, wasn't he? Well, certainly, but then he became the MP for the area. So, again, relatively well known in this area. He was a Chindit, right? What is that? Chindit? Oh, Burma, right. Right. Oh, right. Down this way. Carlin? So this is Johnny McQuaid. Carnmoney Cemetery is where his final resting place is. Not far from Alex Higgins' grave. Justin, if you're going to yawn, at least cover your mouth. So this is the next one. This is the remarkable Sadie Patterson. Again, this is in Carnmoney Cemetery. And there's a blue plaque for her in the Shankill. She's commemorated here with one of her medals that she got, a World Methodist Peace Award, and she got it in 1977. So she's commemorated as an Irish peacemaker. She died on the 16th of January, my mum's birthday, 1985. And she's lovingly remembered by her family circle and friends. So there's actually a book about Sadie Patterson written by a great man called David Blakely. And he's buried in Clandyboy Cemetery in Bangor. But so David Blakely wrote books about, as Jack knows, about C.S. Lewis, but he also wrote, because he knew Lewis from Oxford, but he also wrote a book about Sadie Patterson. So I think Sadie Patterson's a remarkable woman, often forgotten.
Tell them about your video channel on Sadie Patterson.
So I do have a YouTube channel, which Justin does the filming. I'm apparently the eye candy. It shows you where we're stuck. So I do the in front of the camera. So Sadie Patterson was one of the people who we featured on one of the first ones we featured on the YouTube channel.
Yes, even though it's one of the first, it is the least viewed one.
It's one of them, certainly, amid stiff competition.
Yeah, no, but it just shows you with the amount of videos we have now, who people are searching for, and it would surprise you. You would thought people would have remembered her.
No,
Which name do you want to get it on YouTube?
it's just
McCabe's Memorials.
no.
Memorials.
Peter McCabe's memorable memorials. Yeah. So you need to put the memorable in. I think Justin. Peter McCabe's.
Memorials.
Yeah.
Find it, yeah.
Well, right. That'll maybe give you a better monumental sculpture than that guy who couldn't spell. What was it? November. Yeah, so as Justin rightly says, Peter McCabe's Memorable Memorials is the YouTube channel. So the first one we put up on that channel was Alec Higgins, again, Carnmoney. It was very, very successful, very popular. Another one we did was also popular was Frank Carson up at Milltown. His headstone is literally a cracker because it looks like it's like the Giant's Causeway, and then it's got a little image of him on the front that says something like it says a few of his catchphrases, but it says something like I bet you it's quieter down there now that I'm up here, something like that. And then also George Best up at the Roselawn. So and then we also did one for Audley Patterson as well at Movilla, and then we did one at another one at Movilla was Blair, Maine. So the Blair, Maine one got a couple of hundred views at maximum, and then this awful program went out about, is it Rogue Warriors of the SAS, the one that's on at the moment. Apparently it's not very good. It's not very true to well, look, it's got Blair, Maine, for example, swearing like a trooper Blair men apparently didn't swear like a trooper. And there's all this.
Never tried Scotch whiskey.
And, also, there's all this inference that he's let's just say, he wears very comfortable shoes. But that was never proven particularly either. But anyway, after this, we got a couple hundred views, and then after this awful program, then it's up to 55,000 views. So it just shows you the power of the media. So it's sad that that a program like that brings attention to Blair Main's story. But the people like Sadie Patterson, despite our efforts to kind of to get her well known, she's often forgotten. So next time you walk up to Shankill, you can see the blue plaque there, just on up to the right. Notice I said when you're walking, I don't want you looking out the car and going, oh, there's a door, and then into something. So that's Sadie Patterson. She reminds me, sorry, of a yesteryear May Blood, essentially. You know, that kind of. She was an advocate for workers' rights. She worked in a mill, and then she unionised the mill workers and went on strike, etc., and got them better paying conditions. May Blood, sadly, no longer with us, and she's cremated, and she was cremated up in Roselawn. So this is another Troubles victim in Roselawn. This is a guy in the UDR. You'll see the UDR logo up here at the top, and then Sergeant service number, and then Sergeant Dennis Taggart, murdered by the IRA, 4th August 1986. He was living in 42 Battenberg Street, and he was aged only 33 when he was murdered. But you can see then also 10 years prior to that, Simon Taggart, who was only 9 weeks, is in that plot. So, and then at the base of the grave, relating to Dennis, he died for what he believed in. So, again, Battenberg Street, not too far away. Anybody remember Dennis Taggart? Or, yeah, I think was he out working in his car or something? The word? Right. And was he working in his car or something? Or I think he was getting in this car. Awful.
Interested that the number comes before his name, you know, because oftentimes you hear, you know, if you were ever made a prisoner, all you gave him was your name and number.
Yeah.
But it's number and name.
Well, I suppose that goes back to folks who are mentioning Commonwealth War Commission graves, you know, throughout Northern Ireland and throughout France, etc. It's their regimental logo, then I think, and then it's their number and then their name. So it's a similar style to that. This is George Seawright, again in Roselawn Cemetery, and you can see he died 3rd December 1987. He was a Scot originally. I think he retained his thick Scottish accent, but like other people in this room. And he of course then was murdered in 1987. So he was an Orangeman, and he was also wasn't he a councillor, I think? Was it, what party was it? Which party was he in? Was it DUP? Right. So he's buried right next door to a guy called Trevor King, and Trevor King is commemorated down in he's one of the 3 guys on the mural down near the Coe on the Shankill. So that's George Seawright. This is Cornmoney Cemetery, and this is one of a few victims of the Shankill bomb. So as you'll know, the Shankill bomb in 1993 was in Frizzell's fish shop. So this is John Desmond Frizzell, known as Desmond Frizzell here. He's commemorated as much-loved husband, father, and papa, killed 23rd October 1983, and then at the base there, God is our refuge and strength, from Psalms. And buried next door then is his daughter, Sharon. She was only 29. She's commemorated as very much missed by husband Alan and daughter Zoe. We love you so much. So I know Alan McBride quite well. he's a great guy, and he now works for WAVE, who are a victims charity up the Antrim Road, and he's also an Alliance counsellor. So that's the first 2 victims of the Shankill bomb. Say there's a number of them, and they say that's in Cornmoney Cemetery. This is in Loughinch Cemetery in Balnahinch, and this is Jill and George Williamson, and they're commemorated as 2 of the 9 innocent victims of the Shankill Road tragedy. So that's at Balnahinch, as I say. And this is back to Roselawn, and this is Leanne Murray. She was aged only 13 when she was murdered, on the 23rd of October 1983. So down in East Belfast on the junction, if you go down, if you're coming from here, if you go past the Skenos Centre on your right, the Methodist church, then on the left, then you've got a mural depicting some of the atrocities on the Loyalist, perpetrated on the Loyalist community during the Troubles, and right on the corner of Derwent Street and Newton Ards Road, there's an image of Leanne Murray, so she's quite well known in that respect. But again, it doesn't say how she died, but that's how she died as a result of the Shankill bomb. And then this is still in Roselawn, and you can see here Evelyn Bird, who was 27, also 27 was Michael Morrison, and their daughter Michelle Bird, she was only 7, murdered in the Shankill Road bombing, 23rd October 1983. So that's a number of victims, but on a slightly happier note, or a lot happier note, this is John Alexander Henning, MBE. Does anyone remember John Henning? So I used to do a bit of running when I was younger, and hard to believe now, but so one of the races was the Shankill Road race. So it started outside the Shankill Leisure Centre, and then it ran up the Shankill Road, where John Henning had placed a chair outside this building. Then the underage races ran round the chair and then back down the Shankill Road. Very, very cutting edge. My dad was reminding me last night that I fell. I remember this. I fell right at the very start of one of the underage races. So I started last and probably finished last as well. But because you ran up the Shankill Road and then down again, you could just see everybody like nearly there when you were just starting off. So that was John Henning. You're relative of John Henning, but they're married. Okay, cool. But it was an interesting guy. I remember. Sorry.
John Henning, before the international matches, John used to run into Windsor Park and do 2 or 3 laps around the track.
Yeah.
I remember John.
No, he was an incredible person. I remember at one time I was in the Shankill Leisure Centre in a swimming pool, and I looked up. It's perhaps still there, and on the wall there's an image of a sailing boat, and then it says JH in it. So I think that's a reference to John Henning in there in the Shankill Leisure Centre. But yes, a phenomenal runner as well as an organiser. I'm trying to get what it says about him in the book. But I think he ran around. He's a big Linfield fan, wasn't he? So
The international matches, the big international matches he would have run.
Yeah, but
50,000 people in Park, I think.
throwing money at him. Sorry, bear with me until I get this bit about him. Yeah, so he lived at Battenberg Street as well, number 15, and he spent most of his life on the Shankill Road here, an area he described as the heart of the empire. He was one of a family of 6, and he spent only 4 years at school. It was Jersey Street Primary, before starting work soon after his 10th birthday as a paper boy selling the Belfast Telegraph. In 1929, he joined Ulsterville Harriers In the mid-1930s was selected to run in 3 international cross-country races before losing interest and retiring aged 26. After the Second World War, he joined Dunkirk Nomads and resumed training, this time as a marathon runner. He won the 1946 Northern Ireland Marathon Championship, retaining his title for the next 10 years. Also winning the 1947 Manchester Marathon, the 1948 Sheffield Marathon and the 1948 Liverpool Centenary Marathon. At the age of 48, he was selected for the 1958 Empire Games Marathon in Cardiff, possibly becoming the oldest ever runner in major games, finishing 20th in the race. He then set himself a series of challenges, including to run to every Irish League football ground to watch his beloved Linfield, leaving for the remaining trek to Derry City at 4 a.m. in 1960. That was to celebrate his, at 4 a.m. In 1960, to celebrate his 50th birthday, he ran from Dublin to Belfast, completing 108 miles in 16 hours and 20 minutes. Henning then won the World Veteran Championship medals in Toronto, 1975, Hanover in 1977, Gothenburg in Sweden 1979, and Christchurch, New Zealand 1981. He ran 100 laps around Windsor Park at the age of 60. John's running career sadly came to an end in the 1990s due to injuries received when he was hit by a car. Just a few years before he died, John whispered to a friend, "I'm well over 80, but still acting like a wee lad. It's been a great life." So that's what I've got in the book about John Henning, an incredible character. I wouldn't like to be married into the family, but a great. edit that out. No,
I know where you live.
no. Hopefully you don't, because I have a bit of mercy on me. I sure have to walk home after my car's not there anymore. So that's John Henning. Moving swiftly on. So this is that's in Roselawn. Yes, this is also in Roselawn. This is Hugh Smith, again a name that you'll be familiar with. There's a big mural down the road to him, and he's commemorated. You can see the UVF, the original UVF logo here for God in Ulster, and then also here is the symbol of his OBE here. He's commemorated as a beloved husband. Alderman Hugh Smith, OBE, died 12th May 2014. So that's again in Roselawn Cemetery. Again, a man who did a lot of work for the Shankill. I think, was he PUP possibly? Yes. PUP. I think he did a spell as PUP leader, didn't he, for a while? Yes. Yep. So that's Hugh Smith. I say there's a big mural of him as well. Another Smith, although a slightly different spelling. This is Plum Smith, and he's commemorated as a much-loved husband and devoted daddy and granda. Born 26th January 1954, and it says moved on 8th June 2016. So he did time in Longkesh, and but when he was there, he educated himself. I think he learn Irish. I think when he was in Longkesh, it was a Republican prisoner taught him it through a fence. So. Okay. Okay, right. But you can also see this little cross here. It's blown up here, and I think that's a bit of Irish. I don't quite know what it means, but it's probably less we forget. But in Irish, you can see that there's Irish on his.
I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's a battle cry.
Oh, is it a battle cry? But it is Irish, yeah.
It is.
Yeah. So that's Plum Smith. You'll be delighted to know your suffering is nearly ending. This is the last one, I think. This is Bertie McMinn. So I'm an Ards fan, so it doesn't make me a bad person, as I said earlier. I'm not in it for the glory, for sure. But Bertie McMinn, he played for Ards, and he managed Ards for a short time near the end of his career, but he's always associated with Distillery. He played for the Whites for a long, long time, on 3 different occasions. Ironically, I can remember him scoring for a corner for Ards against Distillery back in the day. But you can see there's a number of logos at the base of his headstone. So here is the Distillery logo, and then there's a Distillery player there. But also here at the bottom right of the headstone is the logo of Shankill United. So that he was I think when he passed away, he was the manager of Shankill United. So, and then this is the front of the headstone. This is here, and on the base of the the back of the headstone, you can see the number 10, and he usually wore the number 10. So that's Bertie McMinn.
Just tell me he's related to him as well.
Do you want to do that? You can do it. You can do it. You'll do a better job than me. So he died, I think he was only in his early 60s when he passed away. So it's very, very sad. And it was a huge funeral back in 2018. Wasn't here on the Shankill, I think.
I was written over to you at the time.
All right. You're very international, sir.
No, we'd be on Oregon Street.
Right. Right. So he wasn't a bad footballer either. So actually, Bertie McMinn features in, and this is a good opportunity to plug the two books again. He features in this book, but he also, the Roselawn book, but he also features in the 50 Footballers book as well. So he's one of the more recent guys to feature in the 50 Footballers book. So, yes, I'm going to finish with 3 funny headstones, which I think are funny. So, again, they're all in Roselawn. So this is Mary Doyle, and she died 28th of September 2006, and she was aged 60. And it says, for compared with her, all gold is a pinch of sand. So say she was 60 when she died, but she's commemorated here at the bottom of the headstone as forever 39. So Mary had 21 39th birthdays. But you can also see here her husband, Tommy. He's commemorated as a devoted family man. He died 11th January 2018. And it says here, the Bard of Ballinafie. So I've asked around, was there a Bard of Ballinafie? And I was told that, no, he just used to hang around the big house, the pavilion, etc., and write poetry. And but he gave himself the title of the Bard of Ballinafie. So there's a couple of quirky ones in there on that headstone. Next door is another Doyle, Eddie Doyle, and I only have a close-up of an image on his headstone, but this is the close-up of so it nearly looks like you could drink it. It's very, very realistic.
I'm going to get you one of those cans.
So what's Jack? You, Jack? All right. Who'd have thunk it? So you can see here it says the Guinness. I think it looks great. And then it says Eddie Doyle drank in Belfast. So, but it also says at the bottom base of the headstone something like "Good night and farewell to you all" or something like that. It's a tune of an ancient Irish song, recently covered by Ed Sheeran, whoever he is. That's Roselawn as well. The last 3 are at Roselawn. So this is Billy Dwyer, and you can see he's commemorated here. William Down, known as Billy Dwyer, darling husband of, and then it's been chiselled off who he was the darling husband of. So I'm sensing that relationship didn't end too well, that somebody's had to chisel off the one woman's name. And the final one then is this one. So this is Hugh Mallinson Duff, and I actually know this guy's son, these guys' son. So you can see Hugh he served with the Merchant Navy. So the logo is at the top left-hand corner. And he also worked for GCHQ, so it's at the top right. And he's commemorated as a beloved husband, father, and grandfather. He died 18th August 1992. But also buried here is his beloved wife, Isabella, and she died 3rd August 2017. She's commemorated as a mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother. And then it says, this is the quietest she has ever been. But it says at the bottom then, loved by all. So apparently she was a bit of a chatterbox, and Bill said, you know, he would have threatened her. He says, when you pass away, then we're going to put this on your headstone. And she was initially reluctant, but then she finally came round to it. And when she passed then in 2017, that's on her headstone. But it's important to remember that it's done in an affectionate way, and she's commemorated here as loved by all. So that's in Roselawn Cemetery. So these are my 4 books. They're for sale in a number of places, but this is, I thought I was in safe ground here. This is in the House of Orange. So those are the first 4 books. There's my most recent book. Thanks very much.